If you're watching this video, you're probably looking to upgrade your car radio. You might have something like this. This is a stock radio, CD player, radio, and if you're lucky, an aux in, but it doesn't really do anything else. It doesn't navigate for you. It doesn't have a USB port on it. It doesn't do Bluetooth hands-free or Bluetooth streaming, so it's pretty useless. So you want to upgrade something that's a little bit more 21st century, and that's where this video comes in. I'm going to be discussing the main difference between an Android head unit and something that is branded like a known brand. This is a little bit like comparing an Android phone to an Apple phone. Apple phones are designed for their own iOS operating system. So they work exactly as they are supposed to work because they are limited to their own software. Android, on the other hand, is open source software. So there are lots and lots of manufacturers of Android phones, and some of them are cheap and they have very low end components and they're slow. So this is a very similar comparison to Android head units and the brand named ones. If you buy a brand named head unit, you're buying it with the brand name software in it. It's not open source, it's just their basic radio, and you're limited to the functionality from within. You can't install anything on it, it's just the way it is. When you buy a Android head unit, it's totally open source. It means you can install whatever you want, it will do whatever you want, but that means that you have a choice of hardware when you buy them, and this is the key. If you buy an Android head unit which has less than 2 gigabytes of RAM memory, you're going to have problems. So the cheapest units you can buy have something like half a gig or 1 gigabyte of memory, and that is insufficient to run today's apps, and it's certainly not going to be good enough to multitask. So you can buy an Android head unit for around £50–60, but you're going to have a bad time. We're talking about slowness, overheating, crashes. Those kinds of things will happen when you're using a very, very cheap Android device. So the general rule of thumb is 2 gigabytes of RAM, 2 gigabytes of memory minimum, okay? So the other thing is the brand, and brands with Android radios do matter, because if you go for something like Extrons, which I have here, or Joying, they are trusted brands, and when you buy a trusted brand, you get other things like warranties and customer service, and they care about how people perceive their brands. So these are, you can trust just as much as you trust Kenwood, like I have here. So don't buy a cheap Android radio. £150 is what you can get an Extrons or an A-Toto for, and that will have 2 gigabytes of RAM, and it will be fine. So in the interests of comparison, I have a Kenwood radio here. The specific model number is DMX7017DABS. This is an Android Auto and Apple Carplay radio. And then this is an Extrons. This has 2 gigabytes of RAM, and the Joying here has 4 gigabytes of RAM. One of the main concerns that people have when they look at the Chinese units is customer support. Obviously you have Kenwood and you would expect them to last a long time because it's a Kenwood, but you still only get a 1-year warranty, and if you talk to the customer support, maybe they'll assist you outside of the warranty, like most big brands. But what you need to remember is if you buy a quality brand of Chinese units such as Joying or Extrons, the company actually does want to maintain the branding. Like, the reason they're known as good Android brands is because the customer service is good. And I actually have a story about the customer services of Joying. This particular radio a few years ago, I was transporting some 2x4 wood in my car, and I braked too harshly, and the wood slid into the screen and smashed the screen. And I contacted their support. Now obviously we're talking about something which is not covered under warranty because I broke the screen. And their customer support in China sent me a brand new screen free of charge. I just had to pay for the postage. So, and it arrived 2 days later. That's how crazy good the support of Joying is. I have actually had to use them once before. I do install a lot of car radios, and one of the radios that I installed had a faulty LCD display, and I had to ask for them to send me another one, and they did. So the point is customer support. Yes, it's there. It's there for any decent branded radio. Of course, if you buy some unbranded 50, 60 pound Android unit and you're looking for support because the thing crashes all the time, you know, that's not going to happen. Like, they're cheap, but they're cheap for a reason. But these are not cheap. 150 pounds for the Extrons, around 250, 300 for the Joyings. But obviously you're paying, you know, 400, 450 for the Kenwood, and you still only get the year's warranty. So what you're looking at is the standard dashboards that you get as soon as you install them, as soon as you plug them in. With the Android radios, you have options because you can actually change the dashboard and install any number of dashboards from the marketplace. So you can make them look literally however you want them to look. This is Agama Launcher. So it just changes what the actual radio looks like. So this is what it looks like when you turn your car on, and all of these buttons will take you to specific things. So it just makes it look a little bit more stock. With the Kenwood, you're very much limited to how they've designed it. This is their dashboard. Because it's running their stock system, you can't do anything about that. You can't install a different launcher. I can't show you because of the tedious way that I currently have them wired up on my desk, but all three of them are essentially instant on. And the reason for this is because they are all powered the standard way, which is with two power connections. One of them is a permanent 12-volt live, and the other one is an ignition live. So the fact that the permanent 12-volt live is there means that the radios all remember the last state they were in. And that means as soon as the ignition live is turned on, these radios they'll be instant on. You don't have to wait for the loading sequence, etc., unless you cut the battery power. So this is the Kenwood. Seems okay, a little bit of a delay with that, but overall it's fine. So the Extrons, pretty much instantaneous on that, and the Joying, oh, better actually find something I can scroll. There we go. Yeah. So pretty much instantaneous with the with this as well. So Apple CarPlay is available on the Kenwood and the Joying, but not the Extrons. But I want to make a point here: CarPlay and Auto and Apple CarPlay, but it has to, because it doesn't do anything unless you have a phone connected to it. So in essence, Apple CarPlay is only available on the Joying, along with Android Auto, and the Kenwood. The Extrons, which is the cheaper unit at £150, does not have these features, but you can buy a more expensive one that does. This is a big one. You do have the ability to manipulate the sound on all of these devices. Two Androids have equalizers and presets for sounds, and they do sound very, very good. Okay, there is a quality to the music that you hear from them. They're not cheap amplifiers. The Joying in particular has a superior. It just sounds fantastic. But the Extrons, this is pretty much all you get. You get a loudness on off, and you get to choose how you want the frequencies, the individual frequencies, and then you get the sub control. And that's pretty much as far as it goes. With the joying, you do have your ability to switch the amp on or off. You got loud mode, and then you have your graphical equalizer. If you have stock speakers in your car, all of these are going to sound pretty much the same. Now, coming to the Kenwood, because this is where the Kenwood really shines. If you have a car which has aftermarket amplifiers and you have aftermarket speakers, you're an audiophile, you've set your car up to be amazing, then you want something which can control this audio. So we come to the Kenwood, you immediately have speaker and crossover control. The equalizer is far more sophisticated than it is on the other two units. Let's just zoom in a bit there. So you can control many more of the frequencies with this car, so you can really tune it in. You can control whether you have the additional bass, and you can control the subwoofer level all from this graphical equalizer screen as well. You can tell the car where you're positioned, either a left hand or a right hand side vehicle. Obviously you have the same graphical balance and fade control. You have volume offset. This is really cool. So you can actually set the different types of audio inputs at different volumes. So for example, if you wanted the Bluetooth music to start slightly higher volume than everything else, you can set it here. So all in all, this is an awesome piece of kit from an audio perspective. It's going to give you total control over your car's aftermarket sound systems. But as I say, if you don't have aftermarket sound in your vehicle, you are really not going to hear much difference. They all sound very good, but the Kenwood does trump everything if we're dealing specifically with sound. It's built in with the Kenwood. The Extrons and the joying are compatible with DAB, but you do need to buy an adapter and plug it into the USB ports that are on these units to get that functionality. So, but it is there. So you can see that both of these, which have been in use, both have Saab backgrounds on them. I hope you can see that. This Kenwood does actually allow for images. If I go to setup and then display and then background, it will allow you to pick from certain pictures, and you can change the background. Every single one of these has full steering wheel controls. The two Androids have resistive steering controls built in, so you don't even need a CAN bus decoder for some cars because of the resistive controlling system of the Android units. For all three of them, if you have a car with a CAN bus controlled steering system, you will need to buy a CAN bus decoder on the harness for all three of them. So the two Android units have built-in microphones. On the top left hand side. It's on the top left hand side because they were essentially built for the parts of the world where the driver sits on the left. But regardless of that, the quality of the phone calls from the built-in microphones is horrendous, and I have noticed this on multiple Android units that I have used. That being said, if you install an external microphone, the same ones that would fit the Kenwood over here, you will find that it's amazing. They actually all have excellent Bluetooth connectivity from a phone call perspective, as long as you use an external mic. All three of these units allow for a reverse camera, and will detect when you put your car in reverse and show the reverse camera. The Kenwood does have very nice hardware buttons, so you can actually press them, and you know you can control the color of them. It's nice. They're nice buttons. The Extrons and the Joying both have capacitive buttons, which is basically, they're not real buttons. They're touch sensitive on the glass screens. Both of them are backlit, and both of them you can control the colors of them. The Extron's lights aren't on because I haven't connected them. From an input perspective, all three of these units have RCA inputs for the front and rear speakers, and RCA inputs for the subwoofer. I hope this has been useful and has sort of answered some questions that you might have had on the cheaper units. If you have any questions, or if I didn't answer any of your questions, please do ask on the video, and I will do my best to answer them. Also, please subscribe to my channel. I do talk about interesting things from time to time, and it would be great to have you on board.